Welcome to the Wretched Recap for October 10th, 2025. What's going on, guys? I'm Zach, the Wretched Watchman, and welcome to the Wretched Recap for October 10th, 2025. And this is a new thing that we're going to be doing every week. Every Friday, I'm going to be posting one of these things. So since this is the first one, I thought I'd just let you guys know a little bit of what is going to happen in regards to this. So the Wretched Recap, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking 4, 5, 6 things that have happened over the past week. Either things that I've already covered that I think are pretty important that might be worth mentioning again, giving a quick synopsis, and if people are interested, they can go and check out the longer stuff that we do on the podcasts and clip videos and stuff like that. But then also there might be a few smaller things here and there that maybe aren't necessarily big enough for me to do an entire video about or to just kind of throw in on a podcast or something like that, because there's a lot of information that's worth knowing, but only takes about a minute or two to really talk about it. And so it's a little weird to just kind of throw it into random videos and stuff like that. So, but yeah, basically every Friday, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing this, and we're going to be going over a few things. Like I said, either stuff that we've gone over before that I think are important, or we're going to be going over maybe some smaller new stuff that might be worth discussing that we haven't covered, and you guys can check it out further from there. So, but yeah, hopefully you guys like this new thing. I'm kind of throwing it up there because my series redux are coming to a close, and so I need something for Friday, and I think this would be a really good thing to have on here. It's not going to be a long video, probably, I don't know, 10 minutes or less type of deal. So, and yeah, if I go over, then everybody gets a free pizza, right? No, I retract that. That's not policy, not around here anyway. So, but yeah, we're going to be going over a few things, just pretty simple. And as you guys can see up on the screen, these are kind of what we're going to go over a little bit. And first up is the NSPM 7, which was signed by Trump. This is a national security policy that was indeed signed by Trump. And basically what it is, it's a declaration of war upon American citizens. If you don't agree with Trump's policies, if you don't agree with his politics, you don't agree with the administration and the agenda that they're trying to introduce, then you would technically be deemed a domestic terrorist and politically violent, according to what has been signed. And this is not an executive order that really has to do with day-to-day things that the federal government does, which again aren't even laws. We got to remember that executive orders are not laws. But it's not even an executive order. It is actually a national security policy that is a broad, sweeping policy change for all those who enforce these policies. And so this thing was signed September 25th, and it's called Countering Domestic Terrorism and Organized Political Violence. Now, this was a policy that was brought in under the cover of the declaration that Antifa is a terrorist organization. And so a lot of people focused on the Antifa thing, and they kind of slid this underneath, which is actually more dangerous for us than for them. And so National Security Presidential Memorandum, which is NSPM 7, and this has already gone into effect. Now, just a couple things to point out. This is where it really gets dangerous. It says there are common recurrent motivations and indicata uniting this pattern of violent and terroristic activities under the umbrella of self-described anti-fascism. And as we know, this administration, this country right now is currently running under a fascist order, and it's only getting worse because of moves just like this. These movements portray foundational American principles, and basically it goes on to say, as fascists to justify and encourage acts of violence, revolution, this anti-fascist lie has become the organizing rallying cry used by domestic terrorists to wage a violent assault against democratic institutions, constitutional rights, which Trump just came out and said that he took the freedom of speech away, so technically he's the one that's taking away constitutional rights from us, and fundamental American liberties. Common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, and anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the United States government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, and hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family, religion, and morality. And it's fascinating because we're just getting broad descriptions of what this is: anti this and anti that. Well, what does that include? We are not told. And also, what is it considered to be extremism on migration, race, and gender, or traditional American views? Who determines what those things are? There's no description in this. We're not told what they are. So again, it's whoever goes against that. Basically, it goes against what they declare it to be. We are considered domestic terrorists. And then this is going to be going through the National Joint Terrorism Task Force and its local offices. And they will coordinate and supervise a comprehensive national strategy to investigate, prosecute, and disrupt entities and individuals engaged in acts of political violence and intimidation designed to suppress lawful political activity or obstruct the rule of law. What's interesting is these joint task forces actually already a task force. It already exists, and they could just easily apply it because there's local offices and task force members across various cities and states. Every state has a local office, and basically they don't need to do any laws. It doesn't need to go through Congress, and there doesn't need to be any declarations since it's an organization that already exists. So they're already actively going in on this. So there's a ton more to this. But like I said, we've covered this in depth already this past week. I wanted to draw more attention to it. You guys can go check it out on a past podcast, or there's also a clip video that's titled NSPN 7, declaring war on Americans. So go check that out if you want to know more about what's going on with that. So next up, we got logins for income verification. We haven't covered this, but I think this is a pretty important thing to discuss because it goes to show what's going on with the digital age of things. So it says landlords demand tenant work logins for income verification, raising privacy risks. It says landlords are increasingly demanding tenants' workplace login credentials for income verification through services like Argyle and Approve Shield, accessing payroll data directly. Goes on to say some landlords and property management companies are now requiring prospective tenants to hand over their workplace login credentials as a means of verifying income. And it's being facilitated by third-party verification services, which allows automated tools to log in and confirm employment details without traditional documentation like pay stubs and tax forms. Now, this is very important to pay attention to because this is an increasing thing. Now, while we may not be seeing it personally, this is something that is increasing going forward with the inclusion of digital ID. We know that there's going to be social credit score system that's eventually going to be coming into play on this. Digital currency is also going to be playing a part with the stable coins and that situation there. Plus, we know that most of the rental management groups and properties and stuff like that are starting to be bought up by the main capital firms like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard and Blackstone's getting involved with that as well. And so a lot of these companies, since we're transitioning to this digital age and everything is now being done online, rather than trying to go with the standard tax forms or pay stubs or anything like that, everything is going to be centralized in a digital ID. So this is the first step towards, in order for you to rent or own a home, you're going to have a digital ID, which will be connected to your income, just like they're saying right here, accessing payroll data, and it'll all be through one system. So this is something that's increasing. This is an area that we don't necessarily think of when it comes to this for landlords to access your payment information, but they are definitely rolling it out on that. So I suggest go checking that out if you want more information. Again, it's not something that we covered, but it's worth taking a look at if you're more interested. Next up, we got Canada's organ supply chain. This is a much bigger problem than people realize. We've kind of talked about this here and there, not a whole lot. We haven't talked about it in a while, but it is worth bringing back up because it says Canada is turning its assisted life-ending regime, got to be careful where we're at, into an organ donation supply chain. If we go down, we can see here, it says provision of MAID, M-A-I-D, and death determination occurred in keeping with the Canadian standards. Death has declared within 7 minutes of initiating the MAID protocol. MAID is basically declaring you want self-euthanasia, basically going to a doctor and saying, end my life now. It's part of that program. And it says there have already been liver, kidney, and lung transplants, and at least 155 people in Canada have donated their organs and tissues after receiving a doctor-administered lethal injection since 2016. It says numbers of doctors are concerned that some Canadians receiving medical-assisted death don't actually meet Health Canada's criteria for the procedure. there's a lot going on with this. It says a Dutch study indicated that 286 instances of ODE leading up to 2021, 136 instances were Canadian. And it also says that 235 people have consented to donating their organs after being killed by euthanasia. And of 894 euthanasian donors, 7% have had their organs harvested and donated. And 5% of organ transplants in 2024 used the organs of euthanized Canadians. And so this is something that we've seen going on in Canada for a long time with this basically pushing people into this program to get people to self-eliminate themselves through their programs. And so this is nothing new that's happening there. But this is something that's been a worldwide issue for decades. The black market, organ harvesting, organ trafficking, all these types of things are playing a part of that. The central hub of the world as of right now is Ukraine, because they have laws designed specifically to protect people who traffic children for sex trafficking or organ trafficking. And then there's also the fact of a lot of state-run orphanages in Ukraine are also involved with taking babies and young children in order for things just like this. And laws are designed to protect people who do those types of things. So this is worth paying attention to. I know I've had several nurses contact me after I talk about anything like this saying, well, I've been a nurse for 20 or 30 years, and I've never seen anything like this when it comes to organ harvesting and stuff like that. And I always remind people, personal experience does not determine the standard for how the world operates. There's been a organ harvesting black market for years, for decades. There's job professions called repo men who are built to go, and if somebody does not pay for an organ, they will actually take the organ back out of the human being. It's a little disturbing, a little disgusting, a little morbid, but it's actually what is happening in this world. So, yeah, this is part of the problems of living in a sin world, to say the least. Last two things to cover. We've covered these in past podcasts this past week, so I don't want to spend too much time, but it is worth noting because I think it's important. We have Israel that's spending up to $4.1 million on Christian PR campaign in the Western United States. And it is talking about the documents filed last week under the Foreign Agents Registration Act revealed that Show Faith by Works LLC, which is hired by the Israeli Foreign Ministry, will execute what it bills as the largest Christian church geofencing campaign in history. Now, there's a lot to cover on this. Again, we've already covered it in depth over on my channel. I just put out a clip video about that if you want to know more about it. But basically, what they're doing is they're setting geofences up around churches, around colleges, and around political and Christian rallies all across California, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, and they're looking to spread it out even further. And basically what you do is the moment that you cross that line, it snatches information off of your phone and it starts putting out personalized ads that are pro-Israel in some type of way. So it's a propaganda campaign of what's going on. And I always mention this because I think it's important. The more that Israel does stuff like this, the more aggression people start having towards Israel because of campaigns like this. They're adding to the propaganda thing. So again, there's a difference between political Zionism and Christian Zionism. This is political Zionism at work, and it is not good. So again, we covered that. If you want to know more about it, go check it out on the channel. And then last but not least, Robert Morris has been sentenced to 6 months for his acts of pedophilia. And this is Donald Trump's ex-spiritual advisor pleads guilty to child sex abuse. And it says Robert Morris, founder and former senior pastor of Gateway Church in Texas, who served on President Donald Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board in 2016, pleaded guilty on Thursday to 5 felony counts of child sexual abuse. Morris, formerly of Gateway, one of the largest evangelical congregations in Texas, resigned from the church last year amid the accusations. Says Morris, 64, entered guilty pleas up to 5 counts of lewd or indecent acts with a child. The abuse began in 1982. and she was 12. The victim was 12, while he was a traveling evangelist. My word, and that continued up until she was 16. Now, this is something that's been going on for a long time, and we've covered it several times in the past. And it says the plea agreement resulted in a 10-year suspended sentence, with the first 6 months to be served in Osage County Jail. He's getting probation for the other 9.5, which is absolutely absurd. But since he's connected to the Trump family, I'm not surprised, honestly. Followed by a requirement for Morris to register as a sex offender. And so this is something that's been going on for a while. It's also a major problem because we see that many people who sat on the elder board of the church back then were all aware of it. People like Jimmy Evans, who's huge in the prophecy community now, which he shouldn't have any business being involved with ministry. People like Brady Boyd, who went on to start working, leading another church, and several others as well. We've covered the details of this. So again, you can find that information on my channel or this past week, or you guys can go look it up yourself. But either way, this is a serious problem that's continuing to get worse in the church. It's been around for forever. And it just goes to show how truly dark and twisted this world is. While he's only getting 6 months in jail for what's going on, we understand that God is the great judge of these things, and Morris will receive, along with the elder board who already knew and helped cover this up, which they should be serving time themselves, they'll all receive justified judgment as well when that time comes, according to God. So those are a few things worth noting. Again, we've covered some of these things this week, so go check those out if you're interested. And there's a couple of new things that are worth paying attention to and knowing as well. So that's going to be it for the Wretched Recap. This one was a little bit longer than what the rest of them will be, because I was explaining what it is and how it's going to work and everything. But yeah, so expect to see these, like I said, about 10 minutes or less, somewhere in there. And hopefully you guys enjoy this new thing. So you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next time.